On Ref. I'm your host, Ben Parsons, and this week we got some interesting topics for you guys. We're going to talk about the Browns and then do a little recap of the Cavs season opener of what's been going on with them so far. So, to start things off, we're going to get into the Browns. The trade deadline's coming up on November 1st, and a lot of people are wondering if the Cavs are, if the Browns, sorry, are going to make any moves. Uh, it's been an interesting season. People are wondering if we're just going to give up on the season or try and make any moves and revive the season. Some possible names out there have been Kareem Hunt and Greedy Williams. A lot of people are thinking we're just going to sell them and basically just get rid of them and try and stack up picks. Personally, I don't know. I don't think that's what Andrew Barry's looking to do. He's never been more of a give up guy. He's kind of been more of a he's looking to win now type of guy. So I think if they do get rid of them, they're not going to just basically go out there just to get rid of them to give up on the season and find new picks. I think they're going to go out there and try and get them for a good return that can help us in the future. I know I've seen a possible wide receiver named KJ Hamler. They talked about. I've seen a few rumors of him possibly being an interest for the Browns. Will that happen? I don't know. I think it could be a great pickup for us to add more depth to our wide receiver room because our wide receiver room, as we know, has kind of been struggling this year. I mean, besides Amari Cooper, it's really no big name targets out there that's really made a difference for us this year, and especially with tight end David Njoku going down for a few weeks now, and he was our second big target other than Amari Cooper. That's going to take a hard hit to our offense, and so if the Browns can get KJ Hamler, he would really do a lot for this team and really help us out. So I think he could be a great pickup for us, especially with David Njoku going down. I think it might be time for Kareem Hunt to leave the Browns. I mean, his production this season has took a big drop than the past seasons, and he's not that old. I believe he's only 26 now, so he's still got some years left in him. I think he can really be a big difference for some other teams, but just with the Browns, I don't think he's fitting anymore. I mean, Chubb's really taken over this season, and he's truly become like that top tier running back as he's been in the past seasons. But this year, he's looking as like the clear number one quarterback in the running back. Sorry, in the NFL. Especially they were talking about trading Kareem Hunt for a fourth round pick, and I think that'd be a joke. Like giving away a player of his caliber for only a fourth round pick I think would just be a terrible decision. I think he's worth more than a fourth round pick, and I think Andrew Barry knows that too. And I think this fourth round pick rumors are just rumors, and I think he'll definitely be traded away for more if he does get traded. Now, Greedy Williams, on the other hand, he might be worth only a fourth round pick, but our defensive back room is pretty deep, and they have a lot of depth there, and I don't think they'll be afraid to get rid of Greedy Williams. But when it comes to Kareem Hunt, he's definitely worth more than a fourth round pick, and I think we need to get a better return than that if we want a shot at turning around this season. It's been a very rough season, as we know. We've come on every week talking about how rough of a season it's been. I think that was our fourth loss in a row last week to the Ravens. Once again, another close loss, lost in the final seconds. The refs, I mean, they made a lot of bad calls there, a lot of bad calls at the end of the game. And I think those refs, I mean, it's not fair. Every single week, refs can make calls that affect the game. Like when it comes down to the final seconds and the refs their calls can affect the win or loss. I think, and they call a bad call, they need, something needs to happen to them, some kind of consequence. They can't just have to issue out an apology and then just move on with their lives like that. Some of those calls really affected the Browns losing that game. I mean, they didn't call roughing the passer call. They called a terrible offensive pass interference. They called all sides on us when we went to kick the game time field goal at the end, and that ended up basically pushing us out of field goal range. Even though we still attempted it, it kind of pushed us out. So I mean, those calls right there in those final minutes really affected that game, and I think all three of those calls were absolutely terrible calls. And if anyone watched that game, they'd know those are terrible calls. I mean, the announcers were even questioning a lot of those calls. So I think those refs need some type of consequences. It's really not fair that they can just week in and week out call bad calls for teams and not have anything happen to them. I mean, they're affecting games. Like it's just if a player did something like that, he's gonna end up getting cut from a team or traded if he did that multiple weeks in a row. But a ref can come in and make calls like that and still come right back the next week and be perfectly fine. Yeah, of course, the game's not only on the ref. You shouldn't allow the game to be in the ref's hands. But at the end of the day, if it ends like that, the ref needs to make the right call. And when they call 3 bad calls in the final minutes that affect your game, that something needs to happen with that, because those, if you didn't watch the game, you wouldn't even know about those calls. So most of the league probably doesn't even realize about that happening. But if you watch that game, you would know those refs were absolutely terrible. They were terrible. It was like the Browns, they didn't want the Browns to win. Like I don't know what happened there. The other weeks I agree was on the Browns. Like those losses were on the Browns. The Browns had a lot of mistakes. This past week, I'd have to give the loss to the refs. Like the refs, they affected our game too much at the end, and that's something that cannot happen. Like that just can't happen. It's not fair at all. It's not right. They need a change needs to happen. I feel like there's like every call, every penalty I think should be reviewed in the final minutes of a game. Like every call needs to be reviewed. Like that call that they had with they called us offsides when the final seconds when we were going for the game time field goal, and then they huddled up about it for like a minute. Like if it was so obvious that it was an offsides call, is supposed to be a call that's obvious. That's why you threw the flag, because it happened before the play even happened. So why are you having to huddle up for a good minute after you threw the flag? If you so that means you're not confident about it, or one of them disagrees. So that should mean the call didn't happen. And if you're so up in the air about it and don't really know, then you should be allowed to go back and watch the replay. But for some reason, you're not allowed to do that, and they just talk amongst each other what they think happened. And of course, they assume, oh, the Browns jumped. And if you watch the replay, not a single player on our line jumped. Not a single player. Our only time they moved is when the Ravens defensive lineman jumped. So it just made no sense to me. It made no sense to me. And the rest explanation was absolutely terrible. He was just he didn't know what he was just trying to back up his other refs. Like no, like when it comes to things like that, they have to be able to review that. Like that call has to be something that you can review when it's in the final minutes of game and affect the call that big. Because if they gave us that right there, if they would have gave us that call, we'd have had a 1st and 10, I believe, and we're in great business with I think probably maybe 2 minutes left in the game and a 1st and 10, and we would have been somewhere along the 30, 40, somewhere. I don't remember the exact yardage, but somewhere along those lines. And so that was a game changing call that has to be reviewed. Like that's not something they should be allowed to just huddle up about. Because like I said, if that offensive sides call is something that is supposed to be clear and obvious, and clearly it wasn't clear and obvious because they had to huddle up about it and didn't know what to call and basically just went with their guts, and their guts ultimately lost us the game. And then they called offensive pass interference on Amari Cooper that brought back one of our touchdowns that would have put us up. And Amari Cooper did not have offensive pass interference at all. He gave a little push that really didn't affect the play. Like the defensive back was beat, and that little push did not affect him. They were hand fighting the whole time. That it didn't affect him. Like that was a terrible call, and things honestly need a change needs to happen with NFL officiating. It's not fair at all that things like this can happen. It's week in and week out, refs are affecting games all over the league, not just the Browns, but all kinds of teams, and it's truly not fair at all, and things need to change. Our schedule only gets harder from here, unfortunately. We have a game against the Bengals next week, and then we have our bye week, and then we're at the Dolphins, and then we're at the Bills. So you have 3 teams in a row who are all supposedly playoff teams, and a lot of the Bills are probably Super Bowl favorites right now. And you have the Bengals who were in the Super Bowl last year, and you have the Dolphins who are looked pretty decent this year. So it's not going to get any easier. So these next few games are going to tell our season. If we want any shot at making the playoffs, any shot, things need to turn around right now, because we have to be able to win these games if we want a shot at still being in playoff contention when Deshaun comes back. Because the way things are looking right now, even when Deshaun comes back, we might be too far gone. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much a good quarterback affects a game. Like, I think Deshaun coming back is really, really going to take the Browns to another level. The Browns' record does not show the type of team they've been this year. You see our record, what I believe we're 2-5 right now, but a lot of people don't realize is 4 of those 5 losses have came within the final 2 minutes. So that doesn't show a 2-5 team where 4 of your 5 losses came in the final 2 minutes. Doesn't mean you're a bad team. It means you're a team who just hasn't been able to figure out that last piece. We're one call away from being undefeated right now. Oh, I guess ultimately that Patriots game was the only game that really was a kind of blowout, kind of lopsided. But even that itself was close. If you, of course, if you didn't watch that game, you wouldn't realize, but we had a shot in that game to get back in it. And that's when, what did we do? We fumbled the punt return, and that's ultimately what gave us the game. But I think when we had it right there, we had a shot at going down and getting back in the game, but we fumbled that. So all these Browns losses have been there at the end for us to get back in it and take the lead and do this. All of our losses, our record does not show the type of team we are. We've had a lot of that's the like it just blows me away because the Browns have had a rough season so far. They've had a lot of bad calls, a lot of bad play calling, a lot of players making mistakes, and yet every game we're still in it at the end. That just goes to show if they could just fix the little mistakes, the little simple mistakes that pro players should not make. If they can just figure out what this problem is, if they could just get it together, this team can really be good. We're in it every single week at the end. Every single week we're in it. If they could just figure out what that one mistake is. We are literally one mistake every week from winning that game. Every week it comes down to final second. You're like, oh man, like why couldn't the Browns do this? Why didn't this happen? Why last week it's the rest? Other week it's why did our kicker miss that game time field goal? Other week is oh why did the player blow the coverage? Like it's one little mistake that's affecting our season. And that's been the story of the Browns season. Why this? Why that? Why this? The Browns season is just they're not there yet, but they're so close. Everyone's counting the Browns out because you see a 2-5 team that must mean they're not good. But if you watch the Browns every week, you see the Browns are in the game every week, and everyone be like, "Oh, well, the Browns haven't really played any good teams," and really they have. I mean, only team we played who hasn't been good really is the Steelers. They're about the only other team who's had a bad season. I mean, the Jets proved to be good. Like the Ravens are good. Like we're not playing trash teams. We won against the Panthers, okay. Like, but I get it. They're not good, but a lot of our losses aren't coming from terrible teams. But I will agree, like, yes, we should not be losing those teams because if we're losing to those teams, then that means when we play these harder teams coming up, it's man, that's gonna be tough to watch. Because I'll agree, those teams aren't great teams, but a lot of those teams have surprised a lot of people this season and been a lot better than people would have expected. The Browns, like I said, they're one thing away from figuring out. They're one piece. I don't know what that piece is. I'm sure some of the players and coaches can't figure it out. Clearly, they can't figure out what that one piece is. But there's one little hope I can say about the Browns is they're there. I don't know if they'll get it this season, but they are so close to figuring it out every week. It's come down to that final possession, and they unfortunately we can't pull it out every single week. There's been a lot of teams who have had these final possession games. I think what was it? I think maybe they said the Eagles have had one possession games every week coming in the fourth quarter or something like that. You see a team like that. I don't know for sure if that was true, but I think I've seen something about that. You see a team like that who they figured it out. They figured out how to win those games, and they were undefeated. Like we are so close to being like that too. We gotta figure it out what it is. And I think when Deshaun comes back, yes, he can't fix the defense. He can't fix everything. But I think when you have when you have a quarterback that's a great quarterback, they bring a lot to your team. They can who can make throws. I mean, he's doing all right. I'd say Jacoby's doing all right. But you see a lot of times during the game where it's like, oh, Jacoby missed this guy open. He missed that. He missed that. That's stuff you're not going to see Deshaun do. Deshaun's going to be able to see those open guys, make those throws, make that play, keep you in the game, keep your team together and stuff, give you that motivation. Because when your offense is coming in the game and they're getting a 3-and-out and you're down by a touchdown, and defense is like, oh, they just got 3 stops in a row, but you just got 3 outs, three and outs on your offense too. Like that kills the defense right there. They're like, oh my goodness, like how many times we got to get a stop for you guys to go tie the game? We're down by 1 score and we're trying to hold up, and you guys can't get a first down for 3 drives now. That's killers, and I don't think people realize how much that affects your team. How a good quarterback is truly a game changer for a team. If you look at every single good team in the NFL, you will not find a single good team in the NFL that doesn't have a good quarterback. You will not find a good team because it's impossible to win a game without a good quarterback, a true good quarterback. Yes, okay, let me not say it's but you can win some games with quarterbacks and stuff. But if you want a winning rate, if you want a great team, you need, especially the Browns, you need a good quarterback. That's something you have to have. I mean, you got teams like Dallas, they won their second stringer. He won some games from and all that. But Dallas got a good defense. They got other great things. The Browns defense is struggled all season. Where the Browns don't really know their identity right now in defense. They don't really know what's going on. I think that locker room is kind of splitting, and that's what's causing a lot of the problems when it comes to on field. Because if your team's not playing together, if your team's not happy together, if they're not like close outside of like when it comes to football, then I mean, it ultimately is going to show on the field. And personally, I don't think the Browns are. I don't think they're a close group. I really don't think they are, and I'm hoping they can get this figured out and give us some type of hope for this season. Some type of hope. If not, I don't. I don't want to say. I don't want to start thinking about like, oh, next year Deshaun will be back the whole year. I hope they can try and figure things out this year and just give us a shot. Give us a shot for Deshaun. Keep us in that question for when Deshaun comes back. Can we make the playoffs? I don't want to be out of it by the time he comes back. But as always, we'll just have to see. I mean, hopefully, that's all we can say is hopefully. Got to keep hope for them. But on the other hand, the Cavs are on a hot start. They are looking good, and they are looking like one of the top teams in the NBA. So there's something to be excited about as a Cleveland fan. The Cavs are looking good, and they are so far living up to expectations, and hopefully going to exceed them. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is blowing people away. I mean, this is what you expected when you traded for a player like Donovan Mitchell. He broke the record for most points in scored in a Cavs franchise history in first 3 starts. I believe he broke Austin Carr's record, which was previously I think 90, and Donovan Mitchell broke it with 100. I mean, his first game he played at the Raptors. Mind you, the Cavs are 2-1. I believe we'd be 3-0 if Darius Garland didn't get hurt in that first game. He went out, I believe, in the second quarter with a pretty nasty eye injury, and he still hasn't been back yet. He's missed all the rest of the games, but he's supposed to be back soon. I think he'll be back within the next game or two. And that's just going to take the offense to a huge, huge jump. When your starting star point guard is out and you're still winning games, that just shows you the type of team you have. Because we're not losing against we're not playing against bad teams. These are pretty decent teams. I mean, first game, Donovan Mitchell went 35 minutes, 31 points, 12 for 21, 2 rebounds, and 9 assists, and we ultimately lost a close one. But that's when Darius Garland went out in the second quarter, kind of threw things off for us, and it was kind of just all over the place, and we tried to figure it out, but came up short. But that's all right, because next game, we play the Bulls. They got their 2 stars back. They had DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine both playing healthy. Zach LaVine's first game back, and we took the win against them. Donovan Mitchell once again played 35 minutes, 32 points. He went 10 for 19, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. And we pulled off that win. Then the following game, Donovan Mitchell plays 45 minutes. That game went into overtime, and he scored 37 points on 12 for 29, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. And we pulled out that one in overtime. So that I mean, this Cavs team is good. They are good, and when you have yet to see your star point guard play a full game yet this season, and you have a winning record, that's a good sign for good things to come. And let's not forget Ricky Rubio, who will be a great, great, great backup point guard on our bench to come in and take some stress off of Mitchell and Garland, is still out until December. And when he was playing last year, this Cavs team was looking good when he was playing. He was running our offense like a true veteran. And when he comes back, that is going to be a great, great, great death piece for our bench. And I really think this Cavs team is going to be scary. I really think, my opinion, we're the second best team in the East. The Celtics, I think you got to give them number one. I think we can compete with them. I really do. But I think they just probably have more experience in this. Besides Donovan Mitchell, we don't have any playoff experience really. And the Celtics, they went to the finals last year. And so I think you might have to give them that number one spot right now. But in a 7 game series, I think it'd be a tough series. We might be, I think it definitely go to seven. I think we could pull it out. But I think we're definitely the second best team in the East right now. And they could definitely prove to be the number one team in the East if they keep exceeding expectations as the season goes on. It's still early in the season. We play again tonight against the Magic at home at 7 o'clock. I think that could be a pretty. I mean, the Magic haven't won a game this season, but as we know, nothing's giving when it comes to the NFL or NBA. No game's easy. They're in the NBA for a reason. They're a top player in the world. You can't take no game easy. So hopefully we can pull out that win, and hopefully we can stay on a hot streak because it is looking good right now for us. And I'm excited for what this season holds. I think Mitchell and Garland are just going to prove to be great together. I mean, Mitchell said himself in the press conference the other day, we're farther ahead than he thought we would be. He thought it would take a little more time to get chemistry, but he said it's looking better than he even thought it was going to look. And that is a good thing to hear. This Cavs team look like they're playing as a tight group, and they look like they are truly good friends. Like I said with the Browns, you got to be close. You got to be a close group if you want to go out there and win together. And the Cavs, they look like they got that. They look like they're a close group. They look like, obviously it's a smaller team than an NFL team, but they look good. The Cavs honestly look good. They look like they truly like each other and are having fun out there. And that's all you can ask. That's all you want for your home team, is to look like they truly enjoy being around each other. And it looks like they're having fun out there. And that chemistry is continuing to build. Mitchell is only going to get more comfortable in the offense. He's only going to get closer with the guys, and things are only going to go up from here. And if injuries can't avoid us and we can stay healthy throughout the season, this is going to be a good, good, good season for the Cavs. And I can't wait to see how far they can make in that playoff run, because I think we can truly make a playoff run. And maybe we'll shock everyone and make the finals. I don't know how much of a shock that would be, because a lot of people are giving Cavs high expectations right now. I think the power rankings today I seen, they had the Cavs ranked as number 6 in the whole NBA, and that's, I'm not mad about that. The West, we're not worried about the West. We're worried about them when it comes to the finals. We only got to worry about the East. And I know they had some West teams ahead of us, so I'm not worried about that. There's a lot of good teams in the NBA this year. There really is. The NBA is, I can't remember the last time it's been like spread out like this. No, there's really no true super teams. I mean, this is the kind of basketball we wanted to see. This is what everyone likes to see, where every team, where there's so many good teams and you don't know who's going to win. We got tired of seeing the Warriors and Cavs every year. What, I don't even remember how many years in a row it was, but it was getting ridiculous. Like it was the super team area. No one, that's not fun to watch. You want to see it where there's a lot of good teams and you don't know who's gonna win. And that's what the NBA is this year. There is a lot of good teams who can go out and win the championship this year. So who's gonna prove to be those top teams? Only this time will tell, and we'll find out as the season goes along. I think the Cavs are definitely gonna be one of those teams, those, and I'm excited. The Browns might be struggling, but the Cavs are bringing our mood up because they are looking good. So at least we have the Cavs to cheer for, and the Cavs have a long season ahead of them. A long season. It's just brand new season, and it looks like it's going to be an exciting one. And I haven't been this excited to watch the Cavs since the LeBron's played here. and I think we can be even better. And it's going to be a great year. But that'll do it all for this episode. It was a great episode. I mean, every week, like we said, every Wednesday, we're putting out a new episode. I'll have my co-host back soon. Hopefully, he's taking care of some stuff right now, but he'll be back soon. And just keep tuning in every Wednesday. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that little bell right above the subscribe button. There's the little bell, and if you hit that, it'll give you notifications for every single time we post, and you'll always know when we're going live or posting an episode. So just keep tuning in for us every Wednesday. Comment if you have any feedback or anything you'd like us to talk about next week. If there's anything you guys want to hear us or any topic suggestions you have, just comment below and we'll be sure to try and include them in a future episode. That'll do it all for this episode. Thank you for tuning in to Come On Ref. I'm your host, Ben Parsons, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.